Good morning, happy Tuesday. So thank you for joining us this morning. This is a update on the revised Michigan water affordability legislation. So we appreciate your time this morning. We do ask that anybody that's not speaking on the presenter agenda have their camera off and remain muted so that we can have our reporters and our producers that are joining us this morning be able to feature those that are speaking because we're going to spotlight the speakers. So um, we're going to have a number of presenters, as you saw in the media advisory that was distributed yesterday. After the presentations, there will be a Q&A for media only, so reporters can ask the questions. And we'll have that moderated by Ben from Compass Strategies. So we'll get started right now with Senator Chang. Thank you for joining us.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here to talk about water affordability legislation. As you may remember, in 2020, over 317,000 Michigan households were behind on their water bills. That is a lot of our friends and neighbors potentially at risk of losing access to something that is essential for human life. Public Sector Consultants has crunched the data from hundreds of providers around the state and estimated that around 300,000 households would benefit from a statewide water affordability program. Post-inflation has only increased prices and pressures on Michigan's working class and vulnerable families who are struggling to make ends meet. And this problem is not going away unless we take urgent action to address it. We can ensure access to clean, affordable water for every Michigander with the common sense legislation before the Michigan legislature today. Water is not just a resource, it's something that every human being needs in order to live. Yet too many families in our state are struggling to afford their water bills or have in the past faced the threat of shutoffs. And our goal is simple: to ensure that no family has to choose between paying their water bill, keeping the lights and heat on, or putting food on the table. Senate Bills 248 through 256 will make water bills affordable for low-income households at or below 200% of the federal poverty level, establish a sustainable funding source, and provide critical shutoff protections, especially for critical care customers. I want to give a shout out to my colleagues who are on today, Senators DeMoose and Bayer, and Representatives Myers, Phillips, and Representative McKinney. Really grateful for your partnership. As many of you know, we introduced bipartisan legislation last term that got farther than any water affordability legislation has gotten in years past, but unfortunately did not get passed in lame duck. But I'm pleased to announce today that with several important revisions to the bill package from last term, based on feedback that we've received from legislative colleagues and from stakeholders around the state, we've gained additional bipartisan support in both chambers, and the bills are being reintroduced today in the Senate and in the House in the coming weeks. The changes in this term's legislation include the following. One, the monthly funding factor is reduced to $1.25 per month instead of $2, and increases a quarter for the next 3 years. And the funds that are collected would still stay within the 4 MDHHS Business Center regions. Second, a local water provider can choose to either participate in the statewide program with funds collected in a region staying in that region, or the local water provider can choose the local option to create and fund their own water affordability program. The third major change is that MDHHS will refer to the MEEP manual, SNAP, and other programs' redetermination timelines and processes to create similar rules for this water affordability program. I really want to thank colleagues on both sides of the aisle for their thoughtful feedback on last year's legislation, because we all know that access to clean and affordable water is not a partisan issue. It's a fundamental human need. This issue affects families in urban, suburban, and rural communities alike in every county in Michigan. And our legislation addresses these challenges head on, protecting public health, all while investing in our local water providers and water infrastructure to help stabilize their rising costs. Together, I know that we can make a difference for families across Michigan. And now I'm honored to introduce my good friend and colleague, Senator John DeMoose.
Thank you, Senator Chang, for your leadership on this critical issue. And I will say, in my time in the legislature, I've never seen anyone work as hard on any effort as you have on addressing this problem. So I'm so proud to join you and so many dedicated advocates today. Clean, affordable water is something we all depend on, and it's about time that we come together to ensure that every Michigan resident has access to it. This seems like it should go without saying, seeing as how we are the Great Lakes state. The testimony we saw in committee was last session was compelling. And the one that really got me was a family of 5 who testified that they all 5 use the bathroom and the last one flushes because they can't afford their water bills. This should keep every legislator, Republican or Democrat, awake at night. This bill package isn't just about addressing water affordability. It's about doing so in a way that makes fiscal sense. By capping water bills at 2 to 3% of income for low-income households and creating a sustainable funding source, we're making an investment that pays off in the long run. Helping families pay their water bill reduces bad debt, strengthens utility ledgers, and prevents costly public health crises down the road. Some people might be hesitant about the extra $1.25 monthly fee. I understand that. We get tired of being nickeled and dimed all the time with one fee after another. But let me be clear. This small investment will generate funds that directly benefit communities and families across our state and the utilities that provide them with clean water. And as we've seen, the cost of inaction is far greater. This legislation is for every family in my district and across Michigan struggling with rising water costs, and for every Michigan resident facing similar challenges. I'm proud to stand here in support of these bills.
Thank you so much, Senator Demus. Really great to work with you on this legislation and grateful for your partnership. Up next, we are going to hear from Carrie Bauman, who is from the Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency.
Thank you, and thank you, Senator Demus. I'm proud to join you in supporting this essential legislation. My name is Carrie Bachman, and I am the Executive Director of Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. We are one of 27 community action agencies working in every county in the state to fight poverty and lift Michiganders into lifelong sustainability. Access to affordable water is critical to that mission. The proposed water affordability program is a game changer for the communities we serve. It not only caps bills, but also provides funding for plumbing repairs and arrearage forgiveness, addressing the underlying issues that drive costs higher for struggling households. This legislation addresses those root causes by making water more affordable and accessible. And water affordability is just not a low-income issue. It is a systemic issue that impacts families and seniors and entire communities. When families can't afford their water bills, it sets off a chain reaction of challenges, from health issues to housing instability. When Doug, an elderly veteran in Grand Traverse County, was faced with connecting to the municipal water system because his well fell into disrepair, he could not afford the expense. So when he came to our organization for assistance, the first thing we needed to do was to replace his water heater and all of the plumbing in his mobile home because he had been without water for so long, almost 12 years. We want to make sure that people like Doug in our community never have to face not having access to water again. It's important for folks in Northern Michigan and the UP to know that this legislation will create a regional water affordability program. The surcharge collected in Northern Michigan will stay in Northern Michigan, helping our friends and neighbors afford water. This legislation is a game changer for community action in the communities we serve. Helping seniors and young families rise out of poverty starts with the basics: a safe home, food on the table, and affordable utilities. This bill lays that essential foundation. We are deeply grateful to everyone backing this effort, and especially to Senator Demus for standing up for Northern Michigan families and seniors. Thank you, Senator Chang, for the opportunity to speak in support of this legislation.
Thank you so much, Carrie, and thank you for the work that you do and also for sharing that really important story of the human impact of this issue. Up next, we will hear from Dave LaLumia from the Michigan Area Agencies on Aging Association.
Thank you, Senator Chang, and good morning. My name is Dave Lalamia, and I represent the Area Agencies on Aging Association of Michigan. And our association represents all 16 area agencies on aging that provide supports and services to older adults and people with disabilities across the state. Seniors on fixed incomes are among the hardest hit by rising water costs, and this legislation provides much needed relief. Many seniors in Michigan live on fixed incomes that haven't kept pace with rising utility costs. When water bills rise, these individuals are often forced to make heartbreaking decisions. Do they pay for water, food, or medication? This is a choice no one should have to make. This bill package addresses these challenges by capping water bills, protecting critical care customers, and ensuring that no senior faces a shutoff without support. These measures will bring much needed stability to our aging population. Public sector consultants has estimated that around 500,000 seniors across Michigan would benefit from the water affordability legislation. And that's about 25% of all seniors in Michigan. I urge our legislature to pass these bills swiftly. Water is life, and it's time we protect seniors and our most vulnerable neighbors. Thank you, Senator Chang.
Thank you so much, Dave. Really appreciate all of your work. Up next, we are going to hear from Rick Soul from the Michigan section of the American Water Works Association.
Thank you, Senator Chang. My name is Rick Soleil. I am the current chair of the Michigan section of AWWA. We represent or have around 2,300 members here in Michigan across all portions of community water supplies down to mobile home parks, even and engineers, etc. So local governments are on the front lines working to address these affordability issues while maintaining critical water infrastructure. This legislation supports these efforts by reducing the burden on families and also providing a stable funding source for utilities. These bills strike the right balance between compassion and practicality. By capping water bills for low-income households and providing arrearage forgiveness, we are giving residents a fair chance to stay on track and contribute what they can afford. By creating a sustainable funding source for the program, we're ensuring our water systems remain strong and reliable for everyone. By giving low-income customers water bills they can afford, we ensure more certainty to water providers across the state, which helps every household in that system. Statewide, there's an urgent need to maintain, repair, and replace aging infrastructure, as we all know, some of it almost 100 years old. We've heard about major water and sewer main breaks in the news, and we have seen the devastation that causes. It takes a reliable revenue to prevent and repair these broken pipes. While we continue to explore funding sources for major infrastructure upgrades, this legislation will help water providers collect the necessary revenues for basic operational and maintenance expenses, and I urge our elected leaders to support its passage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rick. AWWA has been an amazing partner in this process, and we're very grateful. Up next, we are going to hear from Reverend Paul Perez, who is the lead minister at Central United Methodist Church in Detroit, as well as a member of the People's Water Board Coalition.
Thank you, Senator Chang, and thanks for your leadership. I'm Reverend Paul Perez, lead minister at Central United Methodist Church in Detroit, and I'm here on behalf of the People's Water Board Coalition Interfaith Justice Committee. So faith leaders, faith communities, and faith-based organizations are often on the front lines of responding to individuals and families impacted by lack of access to clean, affordable water. This bill package is about the health and well-being of people, really all of us, and the health and well-being of our communities, all our communities across the state. The legislation offers practical solutions rooted in compassion, fairness, and justice. By capping water bills, creating sustainable funding, and protecting families from shutoffs, we are taking meaningful steps to promote life, health, and secure basic human rights. In my faith tradition, water is not a political or economic issue. Water is not just a resource or a commodity. Water is life. Water is a sacred gift, and access to clean, affordable water is a human right for each and every person. Providing access to clean, affordable water is not just a policy choice, it is a moral imperative, and it is urgent. The need for water affordability is growing, and we need to take action now. Wayne Metro Community Action Agency has already helped 3 times the number of households with water affordability assistance in out Wayne County communities this year compared to this time last year. These bills provide real, tangible solutions for real people in our communities. Capping water bills ensure families can afford this basic necessity. Water shutoff protections will prevent families from losing access to water without ample notice and support. And the creation of a state office dedicated to water access sends a clear message. Michigan prioritizes its people. I urge everyone to contact your legislatures and demand action on these bills. Together, we can create a Michigan where everyone has access to clean, affordable water. Senator Chang.
Thank you so much, Reverend. Appreciate your remarks and your leadership. Up next, we will hear from Representative Tanya Myers-Phillips.
Thank you so much, Senator Chang. I'm Tanya Myers-Phillips, and I represent Michigan's 7th District. I am honored to be part of this critical conversation about water affordability. Water affordability is not just a financial issue, it's a moral issue. No family should ever have to live without water because they cannot afford it. We need water to live, and all must have access to water. Water shutoffs disproportionately affect low-income families, seniors, and communities of color. These are the same communities that already bear the brunt of environmental injustices. Without water, families can't cook, can't clean, and cannot stay healthy. This is not just a financial burden, it is a public health vulnerability. As an elected official, I've seen firsthand how the rising water costs are affecting residents in my community. This is a challenge we must step up and address, and this legislation provides us with the tools to do so. Families across Michigan are feeling the squeeze of rising utility costs, and water is often the most difficult to manage. I am so pleased that there is bipartisan legislation for this common sense, compassionate, essential legislation, and I implore my colleagues to support this bill package. Thank you so much, Senator Chang and colleagues.
Thank you so much, Representative. And up next, we will hear from Senator Rosemary Baer.
Thank you, Senator Chang. It's a pleasure to be here and appreciate this work so much. We all need clean, safe, fresh water. Our water providers need revenue, bills paid, to be able to keep these life-critical systems running. Water utilities are constantly challenged with walking a fine line between affordability of their customers and the need to maintain, invest, and upgrade critical infrastructure. Both of these things support customers, support us. Without well-maintained systems, we won't have reliable access to clean, safe water. The work of good maintenance is not free, and the systems rely on the members of it, the customers, to each pay a share of those costs. This legislation offers a path forward that supports both of these priorities. It's a win-win. By capping water bills for low-income households and offering more options, we can reduce the likelihood of unpaid bills. More bills get paid while helping all of us, the customers, stay connected to the vital services that we all need in our homes. Those who can afford to pay their bill need to pay. Those who can't afford their bill because their household income is insufficient unwillingly deprive water provider of the funds they need to provide us all clean, safe, fresh water. This proposed sustainable funding mechanism ensures that utilities have the resources to invest in infrastructure and maintain high quality service without placing an undue burden on ratepayers. This set of bills represents years of hard work and collaboration with water providers, advocates, local governments, and community organizations. We listen to the viewpoints of colleagues on all sides of the aisle, all around the rooms. All that feedback and input is what makes this legislation so effective. I just want to thank you, Senator Chang, and all of the stakeholders and sponsors who worked so hard to get this done, and those who are here today in support of the bill package. Senator Chang, wrap it up.
Thank you so much, Senator Bayer. As you've heard, we have continued to have great conversations with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle and in both chambers, and are very, very eager to get the bills moved forward. With so many Michiganders struggling to make ends meet, now is the time to take action. Before opening up for questions, I want to remind folks that we have a website where all this information is compiled, and that is miwaterplan.com. Thank you again, everyone, for your comments and for your support, and I would love to open up for questions.
All right, good morning again. Ben, we'll pivot to you to moderate the questions. I see there's 2 questions in the chat.
Thanks. Yeah, if Brian, if folks can raise their hands so we can recognize them, that would help us.
If you can raise your hand to ask a question or put it in the Q&A. There are 2 questions in the Q&A. Both are from Gary Wilson. And the first question is, where does Speaker Hall stand on the bill? Has he committed to bring it to a vote in the House?
Yeah,
Can you
thanks for the
answer that,
question,
Senator?
Gary. I'm aware that several great organizations that we work with, some of whom are represented on this call, have had conversations with Speaker Hall's staff, and I can't speak for the speaker, but I think that there seems to be an openness, and I think that is also reflected in the conversations that we've had with a number of members of his caucus.
Thanks, Senator. Gary has a follow-up too. Is there a commitment from Governor Whitmer to not only sign the bills, but advocate for the legislature to send them to her desk?
So, we've, in our whole process of working on this legislation, her team has been kept up to date on where we are in the process, and her team at the Department of Health and Human Services has given a lot of really helpful input as we crafted this legislation. And so we're excited to keep the ball moving forward. And I think that in terms of specifics of what her team is anticipating, I think that question should be directed to her office, but all I know is that we have really worked hand in hand with her administration and are looking forward to moving this forward.
Can I jump in, Senator Chang, on one of those questions there?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to add, especially the 2 questions are similar in a way, and I know that one of them was specific to Speaker Hall. I can just tell you this, that there's been so much work put into this whole process to listen diligently to everybody's concerns on both sides of the aisle. Senator Chang has changed this package so much based on even my own district feedback from different parts of the district, especially Sault Ste. Marie and Traverse City and other areas that tend to be Republican areas. We've had a lot of meaningful conversations, both Senator Chang and I have, with people on both sides of the aisle in the House, and have at least some heads nodding that, yes, we like this program. It's no guarantee that it'll be brought up, but we're making tremendous progress. And I see that as partially my job now, is to help convince the Republican side that this is a good thing to do and they should push forward on it. But I do know that there's been great efforts to bring people along in this process for years now.
Other questions? If you can post your questions in the Q&A, that'll help us
Ben, there's a question in the chat from Nusrat Rahman, who's with the Free Press.
Oh, okay, Nusrat. Nusrat asks, are there any updates on future funding for Detroit's Lifeline plan and how would this legislation fund that program?
Well, the budget process is ongoing. And making sure that existing programs have the funding to continue is a top priority for many of us in the legislature. And so we know that there is advocacy in both chambers happening on that front. So that's the short term. Long term, what we know is that we need to pass this legislation because we can't just keep putting a little bit of money here and a little bit money there. This needs an actual long-term sustainable funding source, which is what is included in our bill package. And so if the legislation were to pass tomorrow, we would still need appropriations, though, in the meantime, because of the ramp up period for the collecting of the funding factor, as well as allowing time for programs to get their for allowing providers to get their programs up and running. And so both of these things need to happen. We need the short term, appropriations in this budget that is being worked on right now. Yeah, absolutely, because we know that Lifeline, the RAP program, others, don't currently have the sustainable funding that they need. And so the hope is that we can secure that funding and then also continue to work on getting these bills passed, which will help with the long-term funding in the future. I don't know if my colleagues want to add anything on that front, because our House members have also been advocating for funding.
I could add a bit if you like, Senator Chang. That is such an important question. Thank you so much, and I'm thrilled to work with my colleagues here, and the entire Detroit delegation will be advocating for gap funding for the Lifeline program in this budget cycle. So that advocacy is ongoing, and our Detroit delegation is united behind that request. We'll do our best.
And just wanted to highlight, hi everybody, State Rep Donovan McKinney here, alongside with Senator Myers Phillips, just discuss not only our delegation is putting in funding requests to ensure that we have funding for our Lifeline programs in the city. We're also putting in a request for $60 million for the statewide water affordability program. It's essential that what Senator Chang talked about to ensure that we have the short-term funding, but also realizing that we need a long-term funding mechanism. And these are the bills that are going to do it. And I'm just proud to be able to be a main sponsor on it. And kudos to my colleagues and the coalition for working on this. This is everybody working together to ensure that no matter how much money you make, you'll have access to clean and affordable water.
Thank you both. Ben, are there additional questions?
Other questions in the Q&A or in the chat? Okay, I just want everyone to know that one pager on this legislation, actually it's a 2-page information fact sheet, is posted at miwaterplan.com, as well as the press release for this announcement will be posted there as well. And we'll also send out the release to everyone who received the media advisory from